Everyone, trust you all are doing well and welcome back. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. Right, what we've done in the previous episode, we created our here's like trade. So in this one, we're going to set up our model. So this will be quite quick as there's not too much to do in this one. All right, and then we're going to set up our database schema and we're going to set up our LikeFactory. All right, so the first thing, let's go to our models right here and let's go to our like model right here. There's not too many things to do in this one. So we're just going to do a protected fillable. Okay, so protected fillable. And this is going to equal to an array, and it's just going to be the user ID. Right, that's the only thing that we're going to be doing in this one. Right, we could have done the constant for the table, but we're not going to be needing it for this lessons. All right, we just need to do a protected fillable for our user ID. All right, next thing is the replies. As you guys remember from the previous one, we created that trade. Now we can actually bring in that trade right here. All right, so let's do that. So let's go to our replies, and here you can just say use as likes. All right, and just make sure you bring it in at the top right there. And I just want to put the hairs together. Let me just fix that as well. Right. Don't like the order. I'm just going to make the order like that. All right, so we got our hairs likes in there. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to lazy load, or let's put it like this. We want to eager load all the replies. All right, all the likes with the replies. All right, instead of when we query the likes or the replies, it will come with the likes as well. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a protected with. All right, so as you can see, we've got our protected table, and underneath our protected fillables right here, we're going to do a protected with. All right, the with is just basically, let's say we do replies. I'm just going to do an example. All right, so reply, then we're going to do a with statement like this normally. Then we're going to put in likes like that, and then we're going to just say whatever extra things we want to get with it. All right, and we can just call the get like that, or paginate, whatever the case might be. All right, now the with right here is the one that we're calling in here. So if we say replies all like that, or paginate, let's just call it the paginate, because it's not a good thing actually just to in certain cases, especially if the database are too big, to do a all in there as well. Now in this case, let's do a 15. So we're going to get the replies, we're just going to get all, and we're going to just get 15 of them. All right, now if we call in the with method right here, the protected fillable with, it comes automatically now included in our reply right there. All right, so that's what the with does right here. Probably didn't explain that correctly or clearly for some. Okay, but okay, so if you want to know a little bit more, please read the documentation, and then you can find out a little bit more. Right, because sometimes I might not explain things too clearly. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Instead of doing the with, we'll just put it in here. All right, enough of that. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to set up our thread model as well. So we're going to do exactly the same thing in our thread model. Right, as you can see now, see, that's what's nice about a trade is we can, instead of having to create this, all of this in our thread model and in our apply model, we can just bring in the trade as well. We just bring in the trade with all the methods in it, so instead of having to create everything in every single model. All right, so that's what makes a trade so useful. Okay, we're just going to put in as likes. All right, just make sure we import it at the top. As you can see, I've got it right there. Move everything just a little bit neater from here. Right, and you can see we already got a protected with the author relation, category, and the tags relation right here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add the likes relation as well. right? So it loads up that relation as well. All right, so now the models are all set up. Okay, so we can close this off. All right, the next thing is we need to set up our database schema, and we've done this when we created all our models in the beginning. All right, so let's go to our database, migrations. You will see when we created the database, we've got our likes table right there. All right, so there's a couple of things that we need to fill in here for our polymorphic relationships. We can do the morphs, or we can just add everything ourselves. All right, so this one is fine. Now, what we still need to add in here, we need to add a table for the user ID. All right, so what we're going to do is we can just add a table, and we can add, let's do a foreign ID. All right, and we're going to add the user ID. Just going to add a constraint, and I'm just going to put in the users table like this. All right, and this field for me mustn't be nullable, because all the users, they must be a user if you like it. I don't want guests to like a post, otherwise bots can come to your website and like posts left, right, and center, and we will lose the integrity of the likes. All right, the next thing what we can do, now we need to add that likable ID, and we need to add the likable type. All right, we can do an unsigned integer, and this is going to be for our likable ID, and the table, this one is going to be just a string for our likable type. Okay, so what our likable type is, it would just be a full path. Just to give you an example, I'm just going to put it between quotes. It's just going to be a full path to either the reply or the threads, like app, models, and it will go to either the reply. Okay, so it depends which one it's going to save. If it's the reply, it will save it as a reply. If it's the thread, it will save it as the thread, like this. Okay, right, so we've done that. Now the other thing is we could have done it with reply like this. I'm just repeating myself. And the other one, thread like this. Okay, so this is how it's going to be, because we linked it with our polymorphic relationship. We mapped it. So in our app providers, under app providers, service provider right here, we put our eloquent relationships, morph relationships like this, relationship, and then we relation morph map them right here. Right, so that's it for this one. And what we could have done as well is we could have added the table morphs in here for the polymorphic relationship, but I'm not going to do that in this one, just to show different ways of doing things. Okay, I'm just repeating myself. Now I just want to show an example. You guys remember the taggables? As you can see, we could have added table taggable. It does the same thing. And let's just go to our likes table right here. I could have just said likable. All right, just like this. Morphs. Okay, that's much easier to do. You could have just done that as well. So you could have done it like this, or I've done it like here. But your choice, because it will do exactly the same thing. Right, so that's it for that. So we set up our database schema, we set up our models. Now the next thing is I just want to create a factory for our likes as well. Right, let's open up our terminal. Okay, and then we're just going to say PHP artisan make factory, and we're going to call this the LikeFactory. All right, and we just press enter. Now we got our factory created, and in order to get there, you go to database factories, and you will see we got our LikeFactory right here. All right, so what we want to do in here is we want to set up a couple of things. All right, so we got our model right there. in our definition right here, we want to return the user ID. You guys remember when we create our database right here, we're talking about this user ID right there. All right, and we're just going to create a function, right? And then we're going to return the user. Just make sure we import it at the top. Just make sure, yes, we got it imported at the top. User factory. Then we're just going to create ID like that. Right, so if we call in the like, so a couple of users will basically like. Right, the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a couple of public functions. We're going to create a public function for the reply and one for the thread as well. Public function thread like this. Okay, so in our reply right here, what we want to do is we want to return this state. Want to return the state, we're just going to create a function. Semicolon, I keep forgetting that normally. Okay, and inside here we're just going to return. You must remember we're returning our polymorphic relationship kind of work. Why did I put way in there? This needs to be square. Curly brackets. So return the likable ID and the likable type. Okay, so the first one is going to be a likable ID. That's going to be a function. You just remember the same. It's basically the same thing what we've created up here, but just with a little bit a different setting. Okay, so we got that. Let me just make sure I put the command there. Okay, so we're just going to bring in a reply, then the reply factory, and then we're just going to create. And the last one is, this is going to be the likable type. And we're just going to put in the table replies like this. Okay, remember, because we did that morph map. All right, and another one is, let me just copy this all down like this to our copy everything. Okay, just make sure semicolon, edit, put it in here, and we're just going to change this to a thread factory like this. And we make sure we import the thread in top as well, so everything is good. All right, so now we got our factory created. We might use this. For now, I just want to create it the same way I added the dislike by. I'm still going to think how we can do that as well. All right, because I want to bring in a whole lot of different things to the forum so that we can be able to do a couple of things as well. All right, for now, that's it for this lesson. So what we're going to do is we're just going to delete that. So we finished with that. So the next part is to actually create our components for that. But in order to create a reply, we're going to create a job to actually handle the reply and a job to handle the like of the thread. All right. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you don't, please give it a dislike. And if you have any positive or negative feedback, please give it me in the comment section. If you have any questions, please ask them for me in the comment sections. Any suggestions is also welcome. Please add them for me as well. All right. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.